So there are 4 phases of the policy development process. The first one is to identify the issues and getting really clear on what is it we're trying to be doing here. The second phase is to develop the policy through conversation and research. The third stage is to share the policy and get broader feedback and communicate it out once it is confirmed. And then finally, to review it on an ongoing basis to ensure that it's still effective. So if those are the 4 phases, let's dive in a little bit. So the first phase here is phase 1, which we call identify. And I should say that throughout each phase, and we heard this during the workshop, an emphasis on communicating to registrants and stakeholders throughout each phase. And also to remember that we have to determine and pursue an optimal level of engagement at each phase and for each issue. So at the beginning, an issue is identified. That goes back to one of the things we heard during my interviews, is that we need to get clear on how is it decided when an issue becomes policy, considered for policy. And some of the things that are identified here is that it may be through the board's strategic plan, it might be raised by working committee, a board member, registrant, staff, stakeholder, a variety of different places. But what's most important is where it comes from is, does it resonate as being that it is a problem that actually requires policy. So let's move through the policy response. So after the issue is identified, there's time spent clarifying the problem and the desired outcome. And there may be some limited targeted consultation there to really get a full understanding. Then it's the board responsibility to weigh the suitability of an issue for policy. If it's not suitable, no policy is pursued and the initiator of the policy is notified. There may be other options to explore. But if it is suitable for policy, and I'm going to go to the right-hand side here, the board may direct staff to make an operational policy, and then the decision is communicated. But if it is something that is of a different nature and it's not operational, a committee will be asked by the board to consider the policy, and that's where the mandate letter comes. So that's where we move to phase 2 and then developing. So I'll follow the committee mandate letter from the board. There may be a quick notification of the Ministry of Health and other BC health regulators as a courtesy to let them know this is what we're thinking about, just in case somebody else happens to be working on the same issue at the same time, so that there is a collegiality. Then the committee undergoes research, and there's a variety of different ways of approaching this, of course. The committee research will flow in and out of initial targeted consultation with registrants, stakeholders, and possibly even a focus group with the public if it was that kind of issue, and analysis. And those 3 steps might go back and forth for a bit until it gets clear on what are the options that are worth pursuing. At some point, there will be a high-level notification to registrants, so registrants are aware that this is occurring. Once the analysis gets to a place where a policy draft is appropriate, that policy is drafted. And if it's a bylaw only, then it will be a check-in with the Ministry of Health just to ensure that it is in accordance with any kind of regulatory requirements. And then the committee gives a formal update to the board. The board may decide to edit it because they are the elected individuals that are responsible for steering the college. So, and if so, they'll ask the committee to redraft, or it may say, great, let's put this out for broad consultation. And this is the stage I think that many of you are already familiar with, where moving to phase 3, registrants and stakeholders are notified, and there's a formal consultation. Something's posted on the website. There's a period for you to give feedback. And here you'll see that input will be acknowledged, that it's been received. The committee will do some analysis of that input and use it, apply it, to create a final draft. Again, a quick checking in with the Ministry of Health just as a courtesy, and then the board will respond to the draft. That is in result to the input gathered through the consultation process. Now the board may decide to request edits, in which case the committee may redraft, there may be additional consultation or not, and then when the policy is ready for approval, it will be communicated out to registrants and stakeholders. It'll be implemented. And the last phase is after the implementation of the policy, the relevance of that policy will be assessed as required. For example, every 2 years, perhaps. If it's irrelevant, the policy is retired. If it is relevant, then perhaps there's a revision process, or perhaps there isn't. If there is a revision process required, you'll be able to see in the the full version that it might go up to the committee for a redraft or might go back out to consultation dependent on the issues. So those are the 4 phases